Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Winnebago County Board meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, November 26, 2024. Our invocation and pledge allegiance is by Board Member Keith McDonald. Please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just want to say thank you for all the many blessings you've given each and every one of us in this room. We all have our challenges, but I think if we look, we can also find the blessings you've bestowed upon us. I'd ask for your protection for our first responders and those in the military, and watch them while they're on their shifts on Thanksgiving. They don't get to enjoy the holiday the same way as we do, and please watch over them and keep them safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Thompson, are there any agenda announcements this evening?
No agenda announcements, with the exception that we do have one speaker.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yes. Clerk Gummow, can you please call the roll?
Certainly. Thank you, Chairman. We will start with Mrs. Gorel. Mr. Guevara. Ms. Hansard. Here. Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Lindmark. Mr. McCarthy. Present. Mr. McDonald. Present. Mr. Neighbors. Present. Mr. Penny. Here. Mr. Salgado.
Present.
Mr. Scroll. Here. Mr. Sweeney. Here. Mr. Tassoni. Present. Mr. Thompson. Present. Mr. Webster. Here. Mr. Arena. Here. Mr. Booker. Present. Mr. Butita. Here. Mrs. Crosby. Here. Ms. Fellers.
Present.
Thank you all. Chairman, 18 board members present, 2 board members absent.
Very good. We do have a quorum this evening. We do have one speaker this evening, Mr. Terry Giardini. I'm going to read a quick statement, and you can come on up, Mr. Giardini. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may not address zoning matters which are pending before the ZBA, zoning committee, or the county board. Personnel matters or pending or threatened litigation may not be addressed in open session. An individual may speak a maximum of 3 times per calendar year on the same topic. This prohibition shall include the repetition of the same topic and a statement on what is purported to be a different topic. Personal attacks or inappropriate language of any sort will not be tolerated. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. You took away all the fun I was going to have tonight on that one. Jeez, no personal attacks. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Terry Giardini, and I'm with the Mental Health Board here in Winnebago County. And I was going to present tonight how our monies are being spent in the programs that are out there, so that way you get firsthand information, rather than hearing it secondhand. But here's what I would like for it to happen. I can come back again, and I hope you would invite me back, so that way I can give you the information that maybe some of you, if not all of you, are wanting to know how our monies are being spent and the programs that are out there that we're funding that are doing very well, as a matter of fact. And maybe not as well you might think, but actually, as a whole, they're doing very well. So, with that said, like I said, I'll come back. I'll even do it once a year, twice a year. Heck, I'll come back every month. But somebody's buying me dinner if I'm coming back every month. But other than that, we are autonomous. We do make our own decisions when it comes to what programs that are up there, but we do answer to you. You are our governing body that's above us, and we do look to you for that help and guidance when needed. And Mr. Neighbors himself is on that board, and he makes sure that we all toe the line. Right, Tim? Just nod your head. That's okay. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. Chairman Shirelli, thank you for allowing me to come up and talk. If there's anything you have to say, please contact us at the board. Being the treasurer, I hope I have answers for you. And if not, I'll pretend I do.
Okay.
I believe you have a question.
Are you finished with your...
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
And then happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. Webster?
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for being here. And I look forward to you coming back, because it is important that we know how you spend that money, but it's more important for the public to know how you're spending that money. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's quite all right. I'm glad you asked that. And yeah, it is important because it is taxpayer money, as I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir when I tell you that one. Okay? All right. Again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great Thanksgiving, and thank you for allowing me to come up and speak. Chairman Shirelli, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on to approval of minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approval of the October 24th, 2024 minutes and lay over the November 14th, 2024 minutes. Mr. Hoffman motions and second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion on the layover and the approval of the minutes this evening? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to the approval or the layover of the minutes? Very good. Please cast yes for all members present. The consent agenda, which includes the raffle report and the auditor's report. May I entertain a motion, please? Mr. Booker, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion on either the raffle report or the auditor's report? All right, hearing none, are there any board members opposed to the raffle report or the auditor's report? Very good. Please cast yes for all members present. There are no appointments this evening to be read in. Next is the reports of standing committees. The first is Mr. Butita for the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, we're going to take the first three ordinances and group them together. They're all grants from
Sure. Very
the
good.
same source. I'll go ahead and read those in.
Yes.
First one's an ordinance for approval of budget amendment for Project Safe Neighborhood Northern Illinois District Grant Award. Second one is an ordinance for approval of budget amendment for Project Safe Neighborhood Central Illinois District Grant Award. And the last one is an ordinance for approval of budget amendment for Project Safe Neighborhood Southern Illinois District Grant Award. And I move that we suspend the rules on all three of those.
Motion to suspend by Mr. Butita. Is there a second to suspend the rules? Mr. Penny, Mr. McDonald. Is there any opposition to the suspension of the rules this evening for these three ordinances? Very good. Please cast yes for all members present. The rules are suspended, Mr. Butita.
Okay, I go ahead and move for the passage of all three ordinances.
There's a motion to approve the number 2, number 3, and number 4 under finance by Mr. Butita, and we second by Mr. Sweeney. Is there any discussion, Mr. Butita?
Only that I believe this is going to be coming up in public safety, so there'll be another opportunity to address them.
Okay. Any board member discussion on these three ordinances? All right, hearing none, are there any board members opposed to these three ordinances or any part of the three ordinances? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
Okay, next we have an ordinance for approval of a budget amendment for the fiscal year 2024 year-end adjustments. And I move for suspension of the rules on that
Moved by
also.
Mr. Butita to suspend, second by Mr. Guevara. Are there any board members opposed to the suspension of the rules for number 5 ordinance? Hearing none, please cast a yes for all members present. The rule are suspended.
These are year-end adjustments. Mr. Schultz, did you have any comment at all?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to respond to questions, but I didn't have any specific thing I wanted to share tonight.
Okay. I believe it's a accumulation of quite a few just year-end adjustments and covering a bunch of different items. I think the number was around 700,000, something like that.
We had a variety of funds that were affected, so there's a number of pages. They were all relatively straightforward items.
Yeah. Okay, and we approved that in finance.
We need a motion and from you.
Yeah, I moved to approve
We have
that.
a motion to approve by Mr. Butita and a second by Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Guevara, is there any discussion on this ordinance? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this ordinance? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
Okay, next we have an ordinance for approval of a budget amendment for enhancing investigation and prosecution grant award. And I move to lay that, or suspend the rules there also.
Move to suspend by Mr. Butita. Is there a second? Mr. Thompson seconds that motion. Are there any board members opposed to the suspension of rules for number 6 ordinance? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. The rules are suspended, Mr. Butita.
All right, I move for the passage of the ordinance for the amendment for enhancing investigation and prosecution grant award.
Moved by Mr. Butita, second by Mr. Guevara. Is there any discussion on this ordinance?
This is a grant for the state's attorney's office.
Very good. Any board member discussion? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this ordinance? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
And last is a resolution authorizing a settlement of a claim against the County of Winnebago entitled Cole Hennert versus Winnebago County, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Butita. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion, Mr. Butita?
It's a workman's comp case.
Okay.
so-
Any board member discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Butita.
I just have one more item. I'd like to acknowledge that we have a finance member attending her last board meeting tonight, Ms. Crosby, and we appreciate her service to the Finance Committee. She's been a valuable member. Personally, she's been a good friend, encouraged me to run for the board initially and helped me with my initial campaign. So we've worked on several projects, so I'm glad she's my friend, and good luck to you on those fly fishing trips.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby, for your service. How many years? 8 years. Didn't seem like 8 years. Very good. All right, we got a zoning committee. Mr. Webster.
Thank you, Chairman. Your zoning committee has two items on the agenda this evening. Number one is a variance V0124, and this is in County Board District 4, I'm sorry. This is Mr. Lindmark's district. This came out of Zoning Board of Appeals with unanimous approval, 7-0, and followed up by the zoning committee for zoning approval, 5-0. So with that, I would move to approve.
Do you want to suspend the rules? Move to suspend?
Yes.
Okay, motion to suspend by Mr. Webster, second by Mr. Guevara. Are there any board members opposed to the suspension of rules on this item? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. The rules are suspended, Mr. Webster.
Okay, then I would move to approve V0124.
Motion to approve by Mr. Webster, second by Mr. Lindmark. Is there any discussion this evening on this variance? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Webster.
Okay, next, we have an ordinance here granting for site approval of the commercial solar energy that we had, and this is in District 9, but I want to make a motion here, and we need to vote on this, to send this back to the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is a request made by the applicant, by the petitioner, and they want this to go back to Zoning Board of Appeals for further information. And so we need to vote on this to send this down to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So there's a motion to send this item, this ordinance, back to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Is there a second? Mr. Penny seconds that motion. Any discussion on sending this back to the Zoning Board of Appeals? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to sending this back to the Zoning Board of Appeals? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Webster.
Thank you. That will go to the Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, December 10th.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. And not to be outdone, there's a committee member of the zoning committee that will be leaving us as well. That's John Guevara, and I want to thank John for his service to the county, and particularly his service on the Zoning Board of Appeals, or on the Zoning Committee, I'm sorry. And also, we served together on Public Works. So, double thank you, John.
Very good. Thank you, John. Eight years for you too, Mr. Guevara? All right. Next is the Economic Development Committee by Mr. John Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Economic Development Committee has one resolution for tonight, and that is the resolution approving the American Rescue Plan funds for Economic Impact Program for the Chairman's Initiative Group 6 project, the Harlem Community Center, and I still move for its adoption.
Moved by Mr. Sweeney, second by Ms. Hansert. Is there any discussion, Mr. Sweeney?
Nope, just that this is the last $10,000 of the $1 million that was allocated to board members. This will close out the whole deal.
Very good. Is any further board member discussion on this resolution? Very good. Are there board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast yes for all members present. Mr. Sweeney.
That is the conclusion of our report, and since we're mentioning committee members, Gene, you're also on the Economic Development Committee, and I'd like to wish you well. People know that we have a fun history in local politics and elections and things like that, so I'm glad we're friends, and I know I'll see you on the real estate side for sure still, but best of luck to you. Mr. Guevara, same to you. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have Operations Administrative Committee, Mr. Keith McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have several items again this evening. The first is a resolution for approval of stop-loss insurance, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Guevara. Is there any discussion, Mr. McDonald?
Not from me.
Any board member discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is a resolution authorizing the execution of a renewal agreement with Arthur J. Gallagher for property and casualty coverage, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald. Do we have a second? Mr. Penny seconds that motion. Is there any discussion, Mr. McDonald?
Not for me, Mr. Chairman.
Any board member discussion on this resolution? Very good. Are any board members opposed to the resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is a resolution awarding purchase of phone call distribution system using CIP 25 funds, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald. Do we have a second by Ms. Crosby? Okay, very good. Ms. Crosby seconds that motion. Is there any discussion, Mr. McDonald?
Not for me, Mr. Chairman.
Any board member discussion on this resolution? Very good. Are there any board members opposed? Very good. Please cast yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is a resolution awarding cybersecurity backup annual leasing using department funding, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, a second by Mr. Penny. Is there any discussion, Mr. McDonald?
Not for me, Mr. Chairman.
Any board member discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is a resolution awarding purchase of 2 vehicle pool replacements using CIP 2024 funds, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Guevara. Any discussion, Mr. McDonald?
Not for me, Mr. Chairman.
Any board member discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is a resolution awarding LED upgrades for courthouse garage tunnel using CIP 2024 funds, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Guevara. Is there any board member discussion, or Mr. McDonald? Any?
Not for me, sir. Thank you.
Hearing no discussion, are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next item is a resolution awarding flooring replacement for the State's Attorney's Office using CIP 23 PSST funds, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. McCarthy. We got new floors for Lafayette. Is there any board member discussion on this?
Not for me, Mr. Chairman.
Any board member discussion on the new flooring? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to the flooring? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a feeling this is where the Operations Committee will slow down slightly. Big item coming up, resolution awarding public safety building design build contract to Ringland Johnson Construction using ARPA funds, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. McDonald, second by Mr. Penny, Mr. Guevara. Is there any board member discussion or any chair discussion?
Not for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Any
you.
board member discussion? Mr. Tassoni.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just like to speak to this, my sentiment on this item here. Going back maybe a dozen years, this is probably like the 6th proposal I've seen or been part of what we were going to do at the PSB building. And I was on a committee at one time, maybe a dozen years ago, thought we had it all worked out. Up until a year ago, you know, the talk of an $18 million expansion, build out, remodel, that was what was on the table. You know, roughly a year and a half ago was an $18 million. Wasn't too warm to that idea. And now $32 million for a design build after we just passed a resolution or an ordinance, whatever it was, because we spent more than we allocated last year. We can't even run the daily operations without overspending. I don't have a lot of confidence that we're gonna do a $32 million build without that going up in the air. I just have my reservations about this. I'm hearing that it's not totally funded by ARP funds. There's gonna be some additional funds. It's not gonna be a completed project at the end of this 32 million. The entire building's not gonna be complete for whatever it might be. And that, post-COVID, when you're talking $32 million, tens of million dollar project, it goes up in millions, not tens of thousands or dollars. I mean, this project is gonna go up in millions, and I'm just worried about what the legacy costs are gonna be. And I really wish I would have had more of a detailed presentation here on this board floor so there could be some more Q&A about it. So I don't even know what we're getting for 32 million. So with all that, I will be voting no. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Sony, thank you. Mr. Penny, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'd just like to give, for one, a thank you to the three finalists between Scandrolli, Stenstrom, and Ringland Johnson. I felt that they gave a really thorough breakdown of what they're providing and answering questions that were coming from a lot of different individuals that were in these meetings. And ultimately, being in construction my entire career, I appreciate the fact that these three contractors, including the one that we're looking to award tonight through Ringland Johnson, employ local contractors, local workers, pay wages, union wages that come with providing those jobs that come with things like health insurance and retirement. So I appreciate the commitment on Ringland Johnson, who's ultimately looking to be awarded this tonight. So I have to commend all three of them, but more importantly, congratulate or thank them on their thorough breakdowns of what they're looking to do for us.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Mr. Arena.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to follow up on Mr. Tassoni's comments. I understand his concerns, and I'm aware of all the time he spent in analyzing the building. Just for the record, we did, I think when I first came on the board, start talking about possibly tearing it down, and it was never really a tear down. It was deconstruct the portion of the building above grade because the underground was going to be used, and that was going to cost so much that then we kind of evolved into this idea of, why spend so much money and be left with nothing? Let's figure out how to reuse the building. So that's how we came down this path to the Family Court Center. And it's true, the end of this project, the entire building will not be completed, but we have it designed in such a way that the third and fourth floor will be ready for build out for future use. And the hope is that we can reduce our footprint of the county and utilize that space and possibly, sell off other buildings that we don't need so we're more efficient. That would be our goal, I think. As far as the budget ballooning, the reason why we went with design build was to try to prevent that. So we came to them and said, we want to spend $32 million. We want all the infrastructure of the building to be complete, and we want the family court facility to be complete as well. And they are committing to do that for $32 million. So unless we make changes to that initial design, it won't expand. The areas where we're still considering other improvements to the building are in windows, and I think there's a question still about the heating system, which could possibly be a savings. But all of those things are going to be evaluated by professionals to really determine what's the return on the investment if we spend any more than $32 million. I share your concerns, Mr. Tassoni, about not spending more than we need to on anything that we do. And I can assure you that we're going to fight through this whole project to make sure that we hold the line on this budget. And I know that we didn't bring it back here for more detailed conversations, but it really was, we did a deep dive through this, and we spent a lot of time and considered many options. So I'll be voting yes. I'm comfortable with the place we are now, and I look forward to the project being completed successfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arena. Is there any Further board member discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this resolution? So we have two, Mr. Butita and Mr. Tassoni. Any other board members opposed? Okay, I don't think we need to do a roll call for that, so please cast yes for all other board members present. Thank you. Mr. McDonald?
That concludes our report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I do want to thank the staff for all the hard work that went into this resolution and the repurposing of the public safety building and all the committee members. I know there was at least 7 committee meetings surrounding this and operations and discussions only. So I appreciate all the operations committee and everyone that was involved in this. Okay, we'll move on to Public Works. Mr. Tassoni.
Thank you, Chairman. We have no report this evening, but as Chair of the Public Works, on behalf of the committee, I'd like to extend our wishes to John and his, Mr. Guevara and his future endeavors, and thank him for his, support on Public Works as well.
Absolutely, thank you. Next is Public Safety and Judiciary Committee, Mr. Lindmark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would also like to move the 3 resolutions for Project Safe Neighborhood into one. That's okay?
Absolutely, so we got 3.
And I'd like to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend? Nope, we don't need a motion to suspend.
Is he already suspended? Okay.
So we have a motion by Mr. Lindmark and a second by Mr. Guevara for items 2, 3, and 4, I believe. Is there any discussion, Mr. Lindmark, on these 3
None for
items?
me.
Any board member discussion on these 3 resolutions? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to any of these resolutions or all of these resolutions or none of the resolutions? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Lindmark.
We have a resolution authorizing execution and agreement for public services with 815 Entertainment LLC, Hard Rock Casino, Rockford, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Lindmark, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any board member discussion or chair discussion?
Not from me.
Board member discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, are there any board members opposed to this resolution? Very good. Please cast a yes for all members present. Mr. Lindmark.
That concludes the report, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank Jean for her work on public safety and judiciary. Always nice to see her friendly face every meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindmark. Next is Legislative Lobbying Committee, Mr. Salgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no report, but I want to yield some time, put her on the spot. Ms. Fellers attended ICE ECHO conference. So there's 3 items that she was wanting to kind of discuss. She brought that up at caucus. One is about the governor's issue with a referendum, 60% vote for if we're taking a nursing home from public to a private sector, selling it. There has to be a 60% vote on the floor in order to move it forward, or by referendum. The other one is related to ATV and then battery storage, but I'd like to yield some time to her to kind of bring those up because it affects our county.
Absolutely, Ms. Fellers.
I'll be brief, and I'll actually type up some comments and send them out. And if anyone has any further questions, then please come back to me. Hold on, thank you. So the first one is changing a proposed legislation that would change the rules for privatizing a nursing home that would go from a simple majority to a supermajority on a county board, and or require a referendum. That did not pass during veto session, but they're assuming that it's going to come up during lame duck in January. The second one is a proposed legislation that would allow for non-highway vehicles to be driven on highways with posted speed limits of 55 miles per hour or less. It would be my suggestion that the board pass some kind of ordinance which would prohibit that in Winnebago County within a certain number of feet or yards of a municipality, so that we don't have issues in our pockets in municipal areas. And then the third one is about battery storage. We need to, as a county, I believe, get in front of the issue of where energy is stored. Just like we're being dictated rules and procedures for solar farms, the storage facilities are going to be of similar management or similar legislation. And so it would be prudent of us to put some ordinances in place prior to that happening. So I look forward to doing that with the next board, with the legislative committee.
Very good, thank you, appreciate it. That last item is a national dialogue surrounding the storage of electricity produced by solar farms. Yes, very important.
They did provide us with a sample ordinance, and I'll provide that to the chairman.
Very good, thank you. Okay, so next on to unfinished business. Any unfinished business in front of the board this evening? All right, next is new business. Any new business? Ms. Crosby? No.
3 items. First one is, it is my understanding that the Mental Health Board has requested to update the board in September and October, and they were not allowed to be on the agenda. So my encouragement is we get them on the agenda so they can give the board a complete update. Number 2, there's been a lot of discussion with how the money's been spent on the Mental Health Board, but there's been no discussion on the public safety tax. So I would like to recommend to operations that the public safety tax be looked at, and I would think that we would want to check their annual reports, their line items, their reporting of expenditures, and most importantly, and I know this is important to Mr. Arena, their administrative costs. So I'm referring that to operations. And finally, I would, in keeping the faith with the public and what they already believe, I move that the board suspend the rules and restore the powers and authority of the chairman's office to those in force when Haney took his term in 12/1/16.
Can we
Have a second?
Yeah, we can't have an action item that's not posted on the agenda for a vote.
I thought you would say that.
Well, I'm passing
I thought you
on
would say that.
the recommendation from our state's attorney.
Question for our state's attorney then. Because the meeting has been given public notice, and because we're doing the public business, and this is the public's business, it is your opinion that we still have to refer it back to committee?
Yes, that is my opinion. We have to modify the ordinances regarding the chairman's duties.
Okay, so
It has to be an action item.
Yeah, so I would refer that back to operations, and that concludes my new business.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Thank you. Any other new business? Mr. Salgado?
No new business, but more of a commentary to Mr. Tissoni's point. I'm part of the operations committee, so I was aware in depth. They were providing me with information on the 32 million. We were around 25 million and so forth, 18 million with the family court center, moving in there. So I've heard everything. I understand in and out, 32 million. My thing is if we can get everything through ARP money and then some of it through other sources, that is an avenue. But I do appreciate Mr. Tissoni's concerns, and likewise, some folks may not have that information. We talked about it at caucus. I tried to break it down for them, but it would be good to maybe, if some of the staff members could send out to all county board members, at least a breakdown of the 32 million based on the licensing fees, the structure of the family court center, furniture, the levels 2, 3, and 4. That would be great. I know there is a sheet out there, but if
It
that
should
could
be in your packet
Yep,
now.
Yep, just send it out again, just as a reminder, so folks
Absolutely.
look at it.
Mr.
Yep.
Dornbush, if you can get that email to everybody. And it also is in everyone's packet, so. Mr. Penny, new. You are.
Today, myself, Mr. Arena, Mr. Sweeney had the privilege of doing a tour through the jail system, seeing a lot of different parts, along with some things that a lot of people won't get to see. However, I do want to commend our correction officers, the sheriff's department on their day-to-day activities, of what they have to perform to help keep our county safe and also keep a judicial system moving forward, so.
Yeah, they do a great work. Mr. Guevara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not any new business, just a couple of words. I want to thanks to Jim, John, and Dave for their kind words. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to serve the residents of District 3 and Winnebago County as a member of our county board. I'm confident in our county leadership and look forward to observing great things from our county government as I embrace the promotion back from public servant to sovereign citizen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guevara. Mr. Sweeney?
I just want to, real quick, just thank Ms. Fellers for bringing up the issue of the ATVs. Also, I think that, I know it's a difficult one. I've spoke to it before, been interviewed about it and all that good stuff, and I'm just committed, anything that we can do to try to work together to come up with something. I think a lot of the public's concerned about that issue, and it gets pretty crazy. So thank you for bringing that up and kind of keeping that going. I want to talk with you about that some more, for sure.
Yeah, that discussion, there's been a long discussion in the state of Illinois, especially with our state lobbyists that I had myself personally. You know, there's a lot of down south counties that oppose most of everything that we want implemented. But yes, absolutely, we'll definitely continue that dialogue. Any other communications, Ms. Crosby?
This is my last.
Okay. Everybody hear that?
Yep, this is my last. I want to thank Mr. Butita, Mr. Lindmark, and Mr. Sweeney for their kind words. I have enjoyed being on the board, but I'm going to enjoy having my evenings back. So you have my constant encouragement and goodwill and my prayers. So enjoy the work. Thank you. And Mr. Chiarelli, you're wonderful.
Thank you. Any other new business? All right, announcements and communications. Clerk Gamau.
Thank you, Chairman. The items listed below were received as correspondence.
Very good. Is that a recording, or you do that every 2 weeks? Okay, that was live? All right, that was a live announcement. Did you get that, Mr. McCarthy? That was live. Okay. All right. So, anyway, moving on. So, in the audience, we have a couple different announcements going on here. I got Mr. Ray Thompson, who's one of the incoming county board members there. Mr. Thompson. We have Christina Valdez in the back there, incoming soon. And we also have a former board member, Eli Nicolosi, back there. Welcome. And that brings me to announcement for the installation ceremony, which is Monday, December 2nd at Veterans Memorial Hall. The doors will open at 8 a.m. There's going to be a continental breakfast, which will be available, and the ceremony begins at 8:30. You should all have this on your desks. This is the invitation, and we'll move on from there. Second, we have some other guests in the audience. I want to welcome to Gus Stromberg, if you want to stand. Where's Gus? There's Gus, right? And their parents are Eric and Sarah, right? He's also here with Aiden Heaton and his father, Matt. Both these young men are working on their citizenship in the community badges and are on their way to becoming Eagle Scouts. I want to thank you for your hard work and determination to reach those goals. I appreciate your attendance here tonight, and I know our board member Webster, you're one of his peeps, he told me. So thank you for being a peeps. And Mr. Webster, did you want to say anything about that? Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, next announcement. I do also want to thank Mr. Guevara and Ms. Crosby for your service. It's been an honor for me as chairman to serve with you. And I look forward to seeing you in the future and maybe in new endeavors. And don't be a stranger to any of us, so I really appreciate that opportunity to work with you. Lastly, okay? Yes. Thank you. And let's see, last but not least, let me find my notes here. We have a birthday boy in the house. We all know him as Father McCarthy, who I heard turned down the opportunity to give the invocation this evening because he's celebrating. We don't know what he's celebrating with, but we want to wish you a happy birthday, Father McCarthy, and many more to come. Very good. You look more and more and sound like Paul Logley every time I see you. And that's a compliment. Mr. Webster. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Webster, second by Mr. Thompson. All in favor, say aye. Aye.